Hi guys, it's me, Claire. So, tomorrow is gonna be super exciting. I'm putting my life in your hands, literally, as I'm gonna be doing a My Instagram Followers Control My Day video. Yay! Most influencers do this with options, but I trust you guys, so go wild. Just visit my Instagram, like this video, and comment on whatever you want me to do tomorrow. The comments with the most likes will be chosen. And don't forget to follow me to stay updated. As you can see, I'm Claire, and I'm a beauty influencer on Instagram. Of course, with this pretty face and eye for style, I already have loads of followers. But for someone who was born to be famous like me, that's not enough. That's why I'm doing this viral challenge. It'll get me tens of thousands of likes. Okay, that's it for today. Now I better get my beauty sleep. Gotta have glowing skin tomorrow. The first thing to do in the morning was to check my Instagram. 20,000 likes from my post last night. That's average. Let's see. I asked my followers to decide what I should wear and what I should eat for breakfast. And the most liked comments were about Y2K style and avocado toast. My favorite dish anyway. Easy peasy. I called the maid to prepare breakfast while I did my skincare routine. Then I made sure I took a cute selfie and uploaded it to my story. What a good start! Am I the cutest girl on earth or what? Okay, now I have to make a very difficult decision. Which bag best complements my outfit? This one or this one? I was still trying to decide when my phone rang. Ugh, that's Liam, my boyfriend. It's so early, yet he's already sent me a ton of messages. What are you doing? Why didn't you reply to any of my texts? Hurry up if you don't want to be late for school. All right, I'm coming. Jeez, why does he have to be so stressy? It doesn't matter if we're a little late. I mean, come on, it's only school. After choosing the right bag, I got into Liam's car. He frowned at me and asked me what took so long. I was busy taking selfies, I replied, and posted a mirror selfie I took earlier on my Instagram with the caption, Y2K style for today. What should I do at school this morning? At break time, I was sitting in the cafeteria with Liam and my bestie, Tori. As usual, my beauty was attracting attention. All eyes were on me, and one guy even gushed out, "You're so pretty, Claire." I checked my Instagram to see how my newly posted pic was doing. Oh, it already had 50,000 likes. That's good. But I know with my charisma, I can do even better. But, What's this? The most liked comment on the post wants me to go to the school library and scream, "I hate studying and the library is the most boring place on earth." What kind of request is this? Don't do it. I don't have a good feeling about this. It could be from someone who's trying to sabotage you. Liam has a point. This could just be a trick that Isabella, my rival at school, devised to embarrass me. She's also an influencer on Instagram, but she just copies everything I do. Her Instagram is 5,000 followers less than mine. Yawn. But Claire, how are you going to explain to your followers if you bail out? I don't think they'd be happy about it. Right. I'm doing a challenge, aren't I? Can't stop after only 2 comments. Especially because one from anti-fan. Besides, this is no big deal, right? Who even goes to the library anymore? So, I dragged Liam and Tori to the library. As you know, I need them to film me. Huh? Why was it so ridiculously busy in here? Since when did people actually want to study? I needed to get this over with. So breaking through the silence, I shouted, "I hate studying! And the library is the most boring place on earth." All eyes instantly fell on me, and I heard tuts and grunts. Then someone said, "What the hell are you doing?" Ugh, why is everyone in here so serious? I just shrugged and walked away. At least Liam and Tori had captured me at my best angle. To my surprise, that video gained me a load of views and likes, and I even earned nearly 1,000 more followers. Who would have thought that such a silly act would get so popular? At that moment, Isabella walked past me. Only brainless people would scream in the library. Huh, look who's jealous now. Hey, you might as well try that. Maybe you'll get half of my followers. Isabella looks like she's about to explode with anger. But then she sneered and said, "Let's see if you're still laughing after you see what you've got to do next." Huh? What is she on about? I immediately opened my Insta to check. What? The top comment this time was from Isabella. She wants me to put a trash bag on my head and go to the mall. Ew, trash bag? I spent an hour styling my hair this morning. Isabella, you wicked witch. But, okay. If she wants to play, I'll prove to her that she's messing with the wrong person. Just like last time, Liam tried to talk me out of it. This is nonsense, Claire. Don't lower yourself to this level just for a few likes. I told him he was overreacting, and that I wasn't going to let my followers down by bottling out of it. This seemed to annoy him, and he stormed off. So who's going to take videos for me? I called out, but Liam just kept walking. Why can't he just support me like usual? Luckily, I still had Tori, and she agreed to film it for me. That's what best friends are for. Okay, this is more embarrassing than I thought. People keep staring at me like I'm an alien. I gave them a "what are you looking at" stare, prompting them to quickly turn away. No, I have to act confidently for the video to get more likes. Looking over, I saw Tori cheering me on, so I took a deep breath, stood up straight, and did my best catwalk strut through the mall. My heart was pounding like crazy, even after we walked out of the mall. Phew, it was finally over. I then quickly opened up my Insta, uploaded the video I just shot, then texted Liam asking where he was. After that, Tori and I got in a taxi to his house. Liam was already waiting for me at the door, looking all serious when I got there. So I told Tori to wait in the taxi. Then angrily I shouted as I walked over to him, "You could have at least come and supported me. Do you know how upset I was when you just left like that? I wasn't comfortable filming you make a fool of yourself. I care about you too much." It's just a bit of harmless fun. Why can't you understand how important being an influencer is to me? I don't think I can be with someone who doesn't support me and my passion anymore. We should break up. Then I just walked away, not giving Liam a chance to explain. He quickly ran over and grabbed my hand. "Okay, I'm sorry. Can we talk it out?" It worked! I gestured to Tori, then turned around with a big smile at Liam. "Can you believe the followers want me to test your love by pretending to break up with you? I'll show them how much you love me." But then, unexpectedly, Liam angrily shouted, "What? So, I'm just another tool to get likes for your Instagram? If you want to break up, then fine. We're done." Then he stormed into his house and slammed the door. I stood there open-mouthed. How could he break up with me? In the whole 2 years we've been together, I've never seen him this mad. I'll let him chill for a bit and talk to him tomorrow. He'll have calmed down by then. Right? Look, Claire! Your shopping mall video has already reached 100,000 likes! Oh my god, what is this? People are going crazy for my videos. They say I'm so confident, wearing a trash bag and still looking stylish. I look like Kendall Jenner. And my followers also increased by 5,000 people. At least this is worth the effort I put in. The next morning, I waited for Liam to pick me up. But he never arrived. When I got to school, I tracked him down and asked if he was still mad at me. "You're so addicted to social media. I don't even know who you are anymore." Then he walked off. At that exact moment, Isabella walked towards me. Wait, why is Tori with her? "Hey, loser, you're in so much trouble." What does that mean? I looked at Tori in confusion, but she just lowered her head and quickly followed Isabella. Feeling something was wrong, I immediately opened Instagram and... oh my god. What are these comments? Such an attention seeker. She's willing to do anything just for some likes. I heard that her boyfriend broke up with her. No surprises there. What is this? I did all these things at their requests, and now I'm the one receiving all the hate? Suddenly, the principal announced via the loudspeaker that I had to go to his office. As I walked in, I saw my parents sitting there. Turns out news of what I did at the library had spread. But not only that, someone even accused me of stealing from the shopping mall. Huh? I didn't steal anything. To prove my innocence, I gave the principal my bag to check. And he pulled out a brand new necklace. Why is this thing in my bag? I tried explaining myself, but no one would listen. I was suspended for a week. The walkout of the principal's office was the worst thing ever. Everyone was giving me judging looks and whispering to each other. On the way home, I took a teary selfie, then posted it on Instagram with the caption, "Consequences of yesterday's challenge. 1 week suspension." Someone put the blame on me. Once home, my ashamed-looking parents immediately took my phone away and even disconnected the Wi-Fi. Ugh! My life was over. I ran up to my room in a huff and flopped down onto my bed. Suddenly, my eyes crossed a photo I took with Liam on my birthday last year. That's when Liam threw me a surprise party, and he even made me a cute birthday cake. Come to think of it, I was a bit too harsh with him yesterday. He was only trying to protect me. If I'd listened to him, I wouldn't have all these hate comments and be stuck home for a week. I hurt Liam just to gain more followers. How could I be so stupid? I wished I could apologize to him right now, but... Then to my surprise, after just 3 days, my mom told me I was allowed back to school. There were still mutters about me, but that didn't matter, as Liam was waiting for me at my locker. I hurried over to him, apologized, and explained everything. "Claire, I know you're the sweetest, most loving girl. You just got carried away with your frivolous Instagram popularity. Besides, I know you're not a thief." Then Liam told me that out of suspicion, he asked to check different CCTV at the shopping mall and discovered that it was Tori who dropped the necklace box into my bag. Turns out, she was only hanging out with me because I was famous and rich. So when Isabella paid her, she turned 180 degrees, running after Isabella and playing tricks on me. Liam reported this to the principal, and now both of them have been suspended. That's it. Chasing after popularity on the internet didn't bring me any real friends, but only virtual fans, and a fake friend, sadly. I got blindsided by the likes and followers and overlooked what was truly important, my real-life relationships and the people who genuinely care for me. After that incident, I decided to deactivate my Instagram account for a while, at least until I feel stable again. And even if I lose all my followers, I don't really mind anymore. Because right now, I'm spending time with those who really matter to me.
You might think it's impossible to be two people at once. Yeah. I'm Liana, but I'm also Kai. Confused? Then I suggest you check out part 1 of my story. In short, my mom fooled everyone, including me, into thinking I'm a boy when actually I'm a girl, so my traditional-minded family wouldn't be lured into giving away my inheritance. Back in the restaurant, and I'd just shown my mom how I wanted to go back to Philly and tell my family the truth. "No," she shook her head. "You can't. It's not the right time." "But Mom, why? I don't want to lie anymore." "Stay here, and I'll tell your father you're doing a master's degree." Again with the lies. I'm sick of them. I just want to be me. I let out a frustrated sigh. "I know you do, but I don't want you losing out on your future." I gave her a quizzing look. "Come on, Mom, it wouldn't be that bad." "Honey, Diamond is back, and she's adamant to worm her way into the company." Oh no. This changed things. You see, Diamond's my sassy, ambitious half-sister. My father had her with his mistress. Now Diamond was back from her studies in Australia and eager to claim what she believed was hers. Ugh. Mom continued. She's always snooping around the house, and her attitude is awful. It's only a matter of time before she refuses to leave. That's why I told you this was not an appropriate time to come out with the truth. Diamond would take advantage of it and turn everything into a bigger mess. Well, that was that. I had no choice but to stay in Canada. Ugh. On the plus side, at least I could be Liana here. Then one night, I just returned home from a party in my bodycon dress and heavy makeup when my phone buzzed. It was a video call from Mom. Hi, Mom. I popped myself down on my bed. Oh, that diamond is a piece of work. She used my Ralph Lauren trinket dish as an ashtray. Can you believe that? Oh, that's awful. Have you spoken to Dad about it? Right at that moment, I saw my father appear behind Mom, and he asked her if she was talking to Kai. Startled, I immediately took off my wig, wiped my lips onto the back of my hand, pulled off my eyelashes, and wrapped a blanket around me so he couldn't see my dress. I reappeared on screen with a forced smile and lowered my voice to say, Hi, Dad. He coldly asked, Why is your face so dirty? Nothing. Your mother and I are to attend an important corporate event this weekend, and I want you to come with us. It will be a good experience for you. Be home by Saturday. When my father demands something, well, then there's absolutely 0 point in questioning him about it, so it looks like Kai was going back to Philadelphia. That weekend, I packed my bags and transformed myself back into Kai. Jeez, I'd forgotten how much it sucked having to wear these unflattering clothes. Mom was there to pick me up at the airport. She rushed over to me and gushed, Look at you. My daughter is so handsome. I have to admit that I was really nervous on the way home. By the time the grand house came into view, I felt like I was going to barf. I hadn't been Kai properly in years. What if I messed up, and then Dad disowned both me and Mom? Mom must have sensed how I was feeling, as she took my hand and led me inside. My father was sitting on the edge of the couch with a black coffee and a ton of paperwork in front of him. Hi, Dad. Mom elbowed me, so I coughed to clear my throat, then in a male voice said, Hi, Dad. Your son is back. Yes. Hello, Dad replied, his attention still on his paperwork. Phew. It seemed that he hadn't noticed my voice mishap. After that, I went up to my room, freshened up and changed into my suit. I sprayed myself with cologne, as smelling like a guy might make me act more like one, right? Later on, my father drove us to the event. He wouldn't stop going on about people he wanted to impress and contracts he was after. So without thinking, I grabbed my mom's purse and pulled out her compact mirror and lipstick. I pouted my lips and was about to put it on when I saw my dad glaring at me in the rearview mirror. It's just lip balm. The flight really dried them out. I licked my lips as I quickly dropped the items back into Mom's purse. Mom peered back at me with a be careful look. The event was hard work. Having to be Kai in front of all these bigwigs took it out of me. So by the time we arrived home, I was ready to sleep for a week. Daddy, I'm so glad you're back. How was your event? A girl suddenly rushed out of nowhere and wrapped her arms around my father. Oh, hi, Mrs. Wilson. And you must be my half-brother, Kai. Hi, she smirked. This was Diamond, my unruly half-sister. Mom and I both muttered back hellos, but Dad seemed oblivious to the tension between us all. It was rather successful. I believe the Woodward contract will be mine very shortly. Well, seeing as you're here, you must stay for dinner. After dinner, Mom and I went to the kitchen to bring out the desserts, leaving Dad and Diamond alone. But as we headed back to the dining room, we heard Diamond say, Please let me be your assistant. I want to learn more about the family company. Besides, I'm far more business-minded than Kai, so I don't see why I can't be the director one day. Hearing this, Mom cleared her voice. Diamond then startled and turned around to see Mom holding up a plate with a smile. Anyone for fruit? The next day, Mom asked me to go on a walk with her around the garden. Through gritted teeth, she said, You heard what that devil Diamond said to your father. She's after your position in the company. We can't let her get away with this. Oh no. What did my mother have planned now? I didn't want to play games, I just wanted to be Liana. She continued, You'll have to come back home at once and work in the company. As Kai, of course. No way, I yelled. I've followed your selfish rules for 20 years. This is my time now. I'm not doing this. I started to walk away, but Mom pulled on my arm. Darling, I know. She let out a thoughtful sigh. But if you tell the truth now, then your father might disown us, which will allow Diamond to wriggle her way to what is rightfully yours. We can't let this happen. It's unacceptable. I shook free of Mom's grip and stormed off. This time she didn't try to stop me. I needed time to think this all through. I didn't want to be Kai anymore, but I also didn't want us to lose everything. I really hate doing this. But I guess it's not totally unreasonable of Mom having to pull out these desperate measures. I found my mother in the conservatory, staring thoughtfully out of the window. On seeing me, she smiled. Oh, Kai, Mom, I'm sorry. I've been childish. I know you only want the best for me. Mom took my hand and replied, No. I'm the one who's been asking too much of you. I've been thinking, and perhaps there's a way in which you can be both Kai and Liana. I gave her a questioning look, and she continued. It's bonkers, of course, but it might just work. She chuckled. Kai should get engaged to Liana. What? My mother wanted me to get engaged to myself? But then thinking about it, my mother was an expert at bringing her crazy ideas into fruition. Besides, what did I have to lose? Well, besides my entire family and inheritance. So the next day, while I was having dinner with my parents and grandparents, I stood up and announced, I have something to tell you all. I have a fiancée, Liana. She's smart, beautiful, well-educated, and you're all going to love her. We plan to marry as soon as I finish my master's degree. Then I passed around my phone with a Liana picture on it. My grandparents seemed thrilled, and my grandpa said, yes, it's about time our beloved grandson found himself a wife. I held my breath as the picture reached my father, and he peered down at it with scrutinizing eyes. He looked up at me, and for a horrible moment I thought he'd figured out the truth. But then he said, Good. So, when will we meet this Liana? Soon. She's just finishing her courses. She's coming over next week. But I still had some paperwork going on at school, so Liana will visit you guys first, and I'll fly home later. That's how excited she is to meet you all. I can't wait, dear. She seems like a lovely young lady. My grandma looked genuinely happy. Then I continued, Yes, Nanny, she is. And in fact, I turned to Dad, Liana is looking for an internship. It would be nice if she could get a spot in our company, as she'll have to learn about our family's business sooner or later. Right, Dad? He seemed pleased as he replied, Very well. Just bring her over. So Mom's latest crazy plan seemed to be working. After my announcement, I stayed home for a few more days as Kai. Then I flew back to Canada, packed my things, and flew back as Liana. Phew, this was exhausting. Walking into the house with all eyes on me was terrifying, but everyone rushed over and greeted me. Even Diamond. Mom linked arms with me. Darling, our house has plenty of guest rooms. You gotta stay here, I insist. We all are family now, aren't we? Please, make yourself at home. Smiling, I replied, Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, that would be lovely. Suddenly Diamond interrupted. Oh, seeing as this house has that many spare rooms, why can't I have one? Mom looked flustered, then reluctantly replied, Sure, Diamond. I have never said that you couldn't. Just pick one. This was not part of the plan, but fine. I ain't scared of her. Mom then led me to my room and kept reminding me to be extra careful now that Diamond was around 24/7. On one occasion, I was reading by the window in our home library when Diamond waltzed in and yanked the book off me. Oh, I get it. You're only marrying that half-brother of mine for the first edition books. She winked. I took the book back off her, then politely replied, Yes, I'll marry whoever I need to if it means getting this 8th edition book published in 2017. Oh, the glamour. Hilarious. She just sneered and walked away to hide the humiliation. Unfortunately, even at work, I didn't get a break from Diamond. Instead, I was assigned a job under her management. Ugh. One time I returned from lunch to find the report I was working on had vanished from my desk. I pulled my desk apart looking for it, only for her to pass it to me at the end of the day. Then, with this devious grin on her face, she said, "You were meant to have this finished today, weren't you? It looks like you're in for a late one." Ugh! She was definitely more of an imitation than a diamond. And as he'd predicted, my father ended up getting the Woodward contract, and it was a huge deal. Some of the representatives from the company were coming in to discuss the project, so everyone seemed to be buzzing around like flies in preparation. Diamond ordered me to make coffee and take it to our guests. I was walking with the tray of drinks when I bumped straight into someone. Oh no, the coffee soaked his white shirt. As I muttered out a "sorry," I realized something. I knew this man. He looked really familiar. It was Kevin, my old school friend. He'd changed so much, but it was definitely him. I'd recognize him anywhere. But he didn't seem to recognize me, which I guess wasn't surprising seeing as I was dressed as a girl. I wonder what he was doing here.
Emma, your teacher, Mrs. Holm, called again. She said your grades are appalling and you don't pay attention in class. Why can't you be more like your sister? Yawn. Not this speech again. It's been like this ever since I started elementary school. In my mom's eyes, only my sister, Evelyn, inherited our dad's intelligence, while I'm just the senseless member of the family. Ugh, as if. She's only good with useless books. Bet she doesn't know anything practical, like how Dad's Ethernet company works and such. But whatever, I don't care. I'm full, I announced as I got up and went to my little headquarters, the garage. I was busy working on my own personal project, so I didn't have time to give a hoot about who my mom's favorite child is. Oh, you must be wondering what I'm working on. Well, this device broadcasts Wi-Fi. Sounds familiar, right? But my device is able to broadcast across the entire city. Not only that, the connection is stronger and much more stable than the Wi-Fi people use at home. And it's more convenient without all the cables and stuff. This is without a doubt my proudest work ever. And what a coincidence that a few days earlier at school, Mrs. Holm announced that for the first time, the school was organizing an invention contest. Normally, I give school activities a miss, but this time was different. This contest could be fun, right? There was no time to waste, so I put all my spare time, day and night, into making my invention contest ready. And you won't believe what happened. I won first prize! And that's not all. One of the judges, Mr. Johnson, was so interested in my invention that he offered to invest in it. At first, I was kind of scared and hesitated to agree because, I was still in high school. But this was an opportunity of a lifetime, so how could I deny it, right? So after that, Mr. Johnson sorted out a manufacturing company and office space for me downtown. This is cool, but I prefer to work in my garage. It's just more convenient that way, with me still being at school and all. I upgraded my device and launched it to the public. And you know what? It was a huge success. Pretty much everybody in the city got rid of their old, laggy Wi-Fi devices and accessed mine. Then one day, I got a call from the local news channel asking to interview me and my family at home. Oh my god, yes! Oh, there's just one snag. I hadn't told my family about it yet because, I don't know. Maybe I just know there's no way they'd believe me? Like the time I got an A in my physics exam, and my mom instantly asked if I cheated. But, well, whatever. This is much bigger than that. So I quickly ran downstairs to the living room and excitedly told my family that the invention benefiting the town was mine. But Mum and Evelyn burst out laughing. So you're telling me that this Wi-Fi, which is broadcasting across the entire city, is your invention? Yeah, Mum, it's mine. Then Mum and Evelyn laughed even louder. Honey, it's bad enough you're failing at school. Please don't start lying. Ugh, forget about it. Why did I even try? Then, the morning after, when the doorbell rang, My mom opened it and saw a reporter and a cameraman. She couldn't believe her eyes. Mom and Evelyn exchanged panicked looks, then rushed upstairs to prepare. It was so hilarious. The hysterics continued as they interviewed my parents. I watched my nervous, sweaty dad stand there like an awkward statue, while Mom began bragging about me like, "As soon as Emma was born, I knew she was a genius like her dad. I always encourage her to pursue her dreams." Jeez, and the Oscar goes to my mom. I didn't know she could act that well. To be honest, since I could remember, Mom never said anything nice about me. Ever. But now that she knew I was the mastermind behind the town's Wi-Fi, she would probably treat me differently. Right? Wrong. Then one night I came downstairs for a glass of milk and overheard Mom and Dad talking in the living room. "Emma is such a selfish child. How badly will this affect your business?" "The truth is, the company's going through tough times. But don't worry, we're trying everything we can." Huh? Did I do something? And what's wrong with Dad's company? I tried to eavesdrop more, but suddenly I heard my dad standing up from the couch, so I quickly ran upstairs to my room. The next day, Dad forgot to take his lunch with him to work, so Mom asked me to take it over. But when I got to his company floor, it was deserted. Huh? Where was everybody? Did everybody get a day off or something? But that couldn't be it, right? That evening, over dinner, I asked Dad. "I went to your office at midday, but not a single person was there. What's going on?" Mom suddenly put her cutlery down and gave Dad a shocked look. "Is what Emma just said true?" Dad lowered his head and sighed out. "Yes, it's true. I temporarily shut the company last week. I didn't want you all to worry, so I didn't tell you. I'm sorry." "What? How could you? You said you would fix it!" That's when it hit me. But I deeply prayed it wasn't the truth. So I asked him, "Is it because of my device?" Dad didn't answer me. He just glared sadly down at his dinner. But I knew what his silence meant. I was right. Suddenly, Evelyn stood up and screamed in my face. "It's all your fault! You invented that stupid device, and now Dad's business is at stake! That's so typical of you. You never think before you act." Then she stomped off upstairs. I just sat there speechless. I just wanted my family to be proud of me, but instead, it seemed like they despised me more than ever. Then Dad turned to me and softly said, "Emma, this isn't your fault." I was kind of waiting for my mom to say something, anything at all, but she didn't. She just cleaned up the table. I felt really bad about what happened to Dad. But hey, now I had to work even harder so I could provide for my family, right? After that, Mom completely ghosted me. As for my sister, whenever our paths crossed, she gave me a dagger look and muttered out mean comments like, "Let's see how long it takes for your precious business to fail." I tried to ignore her, but then she took it too far. One Sunday, I was in my garage working away when suddenly I heard loud noises coming from outside. I opened the garage door to see a crowd of people holding signs saying, "We lost our jobs because of you," and "No job, no future." My God, they were protesters. I think they were from my dad's office. Wait a minute. I spotted a familiar face. Evelyn? She was holding a big sign saying, "My dad lost his job because of you." Eventually, Dad came out and dispersed the crowd. Then he called an emergency family meeting. "How could you do that to me?" The correct question would be, how could you do that to Dad? Thanks to you, dozens of people have lost their jobs. You're making people's lives miserable.
Enough, both of you. Evelyn, what you did was wrong. Families are supposed to support each other.
But Dad,
Didn't you just hear what I said?
Evelyn gave me a dirty look. Then she ran off to her room. I looked at Mom, who was leaning against the wall with her arms folded. Did she agree with what Evelyn did? Or was she on my side? My God, please say something. But to my surprise, after that, my mother started talking to me again, and she was actually being nice. She even started cleaning my room and workspace. Whoa, this was new? Had she finally accepted me? Then one day, I received tons of emails complaining about my Wi-Fi. It took me all day, but I finally found the cause of the problem. My laptop. Somebody had tampered with it. It didn't take a genius to figure out who it was. Evelyn, duh. But I needed proof, so I set up a trap. The next evening, when everybody was having dinner, I ran downstairs, quickly grabbed a piece of bread and said, "I need to go run some errands. Oh, and can you please stay out of the garage, as I'm uploading some important files?" Mom and Dad nodded and smiled at me. Evelyn, on the other hand, just rolled her eyes and continued eating. Well, at least I knew my plan was in motion. I walked outside and hid behind the bushes. So, what's my plan, you ask? Well, I set up my laptop so that when anyone opened it, it would automatically send a notification to my phone and turn on the camera so I could see who it was. I waited for an hour, but still nothing. Then suddenly, my phone beeped. Somebody was opening my laptop. They hadn't switched the light on yet, so it was too dark to see them, but I was 100% sure who it was. Time to expose. What are you doing sneaking out here? Evelyn? What was she doing out here? Wait, if Evelyn was here, then who was it in the garage? Not answering Evelyn's question, I ran like crazy into the garage to capture this intruder. And as soon as I turned on the lights, I couldn't believe who was messing with my laptop. It was Mom! What on earth was going on? I called a family meeting and told everyone what Mom did. Dad and Evelyn looked shocked and asked Mom why she did it. "I just couldn't stand seeing your dad suffer anymore. He put his life into that company, and now he's just a laughing stock. Do you realize our neighbors and relatives have been gossiping about him? They think it's so pitiful that he lost out to his own daughter. So I did what any self-respecting wife would do." Was she serious? Why didn't she just talk to me? All I ever wanted was for her to talk to me. Nothing else. But no, she decided to go behind my back and try to sabotage my business instead. After her betrayal, I'd had enough. So I didn't speak to her and avoided her as much as possible. It was one thing for Mom to be cold towards me, but I never thought she was capable of doing this. This went on for weeks, and it got kinda tedious. Trust me, it's no fun trying to avoid someone in your own home. But then one day, I arrived back from school and saw Dad sitting in a corner in the living room, repairing his PC. Geez, he looked so miserable. That's when the truth hit me. This was his passion, and I took it away from him. Suddenly, I understood why Mom did what she did. She saw how disheartened he was, but knew he'd never say anything to me, because he's always supportive. But how can I fix everything? Should I give everything up so that my dad can reopen his company again? Ugh, why was this so hard to figure out? Wait a minute. I think I have the solution. You must be wondering what my dad was doing here. Well, I came up with the idea that we should work together. My dad's a pro with technology, so it didn't take long to show him how things work around here. Oh, and since my business has grown, we were able to employ some of his former work employees too. With Dad around to help, I have time to focus on my studies. Even Evelyn started helping out, and she was so good at it, I made her dad's assistant. Talk about a proper family business. Ha! As for Mom, we had a really long talk. I finally told her how awful her attitude towards me made me feel, and she apologized for everything she had done. I eventually forgave her. I knew she did that just because she loves Dad very much. So, after all that drama, we're now just one big happy family. These need to be washed by hand. Kelly threw a pile of clothes on the floor. And be quick about it! Hey, I'm Maya, and that bossy girl is Kelly. Although we live in the same house, we aren't siblings. You see, when I was just a baby, I was adopted by a loving old couple. They lived on a farm in the countryside. Their kids had grown up and left home, and they were both missing the lively energy that only a child could bring. One Sunday at church, they saw the priest raising a baby girl and offered to help. So that's how they ended up taking me home and bringing me up as their grandchild. They were the nicest people, and they showered me in nothing but love and kindness. I'm always more than grateful for them. We lived together happily until one day, when Grandpa was in the orchard, he collapsed. Sadly, he passed away. Grandma was never the same after that. She'd lost her soulmate. Her health also deteriorated, and then one night she called me into her room, and gripping my hand, she said, "Sweetie, you brought so much joy into our lives. Without us, life could be tough. But don't worry, we're always with you. When I'm gone, go find my old purse hidden in the broken tractor in the back barn. We've saved up a little bit for you. Our little Maya have to live your best life. All right?" Then, before I could ask her any more about this, she closed her eyes, and just like that, she'd left me forever. I stayed with her for hours, crying my heart out. Afterward, following Grandma's words, I went in search of the money. Oh, God! I gasped in shock as I opened the purse. There was at least $20,000 here. How did my grandparents manage to save up such an amount of money? I knew they were thrifty, but this was way too much. After that, I moved to Columbus to live with my grandparents' daughter, Mrs. Madison, and her daughter, Kelly. So you're wondering what I did with the money, right? Well, I keep it hidden here, in this crack in the roof. Oh, someone's coming.
Your room is disgusting. Anyway, Kelly and I are going out, so make sure you clean everywhere before we get back. I expect it to be spotless.
I gave a weak nod and watched her totter away. This wasn't a new occurrence. Every day, they'd mess up the house, then force me to clean it. I know, I was basically the real-life Cinderella. But it's okay. As soon as I turned 18, I'm gonna leave this place anyway and start living my own life with my money. The next morning, it was raining, so I tried to walk to school as fast as possible, when suddenly, Kelly drove past me and deliberately sped through this big puddle. Mud splattered all over me. Jeez, why is torturing me her favorite hobby? My shirt was filthy, and as I walked toward my locker, some girls laughed at me. One even sneered. The dirty look must be trendy in the countryside, but here it just looks tragic. Yeah, I've been in the city for almost a year now, but I still couldn't fit in. Maybe it's because I always wear the same worn-out clothes and borrow all my books from the library. Mrs. Madison refused to buy me anything new, and I couldn't use my own money, as that would look suspicious. I couldn't even afford to go on the school picnic. I'd never be one of them. Then, during recess, the class monitor, Josie, informed everyone that prom was happening soon, and the dress code was formal. While all the other kids squealed and clapped excitedly, I lowered my head and sighed. I had nothing to wear to prom. Maya? Hearing my name broke me from my thoughts, and I realized it was Josie, and standing around her were some of the nice girls from class. You have to come to prom this time, please. You've never joined us in any other activities before. Don't worry, we will help you look spectacular. I gave an awkward smile and replied, "Thanks, guys, but I can't expect you to do that." They all insisted that I should go, but I remained adamant that it wasn't my kind of thing. Then came Meanie Kelly. "Maya isn't suitable for this type of event." How dare she say that? I mean, just because I wasn't a spoiled princess didn't mean I wasn't suitable to attend. So I turned to Josie and smiled. Actually, that sounds fun. I will go to the prom. That evening at dinner, I mentioned the prom to Mrs. Madison and suggested that it could be a reward in exchange for doing all the housework. She coldly replied, "You live under my roof rent-free, and now you expect me to do housework for you too? Or what?
Your Majesty. Then she turned to Kelly, smiled, and asked, Darling, have you decided on a prom dress yet? Then Kelly showed her mom pictures of gorgeous dresses on her phone while throwing smirks at me. Ugh! I couldn't sit around looking at Kelly's smug face anymore. This time, I definitely had to go to prom and be prettier than her. So that weekend, I went thrift store shopping with Josie, and after looking in about a dozen stores, Josie lifted up this really pretty blue gown. It had a tear down the side, but I knew I could easily sew that up and thrift flip it a little. I'd seen people do that on YouTube. The night of the prom, Josie did my hair and makeup, and I showed up in the dress. I felt like a real-life princess, and everyone was looking at me and giving me compliments, while Kelly stood there with her arms folded and a sulky look on her face. Then this boy called David walked over to me and started talking. Turns out, he was the new senior here. All the girls had their eyes on him, including Kelly, who walked over and tried offering him a drink, but he snubbed her and continued talking to me, leaving her standing there in silent anger before storming out of the prom. I had such a wonderful night with my new friends. I arrived home in a great mood and was happily singing to myself. But this instantly changed when I saw Kelly sitting there waiting for me. Such a thief! Now, don't tell me this fancy dress just fell down on you from the sky! Kelly shouted at me. I insisted that I hadn't stolen anything, so she dragged Mrs. Madison to the living room and asked her to check if she had lost any money recently. Mrs. Madison said no without thinking at first, but when she read Kelly's face, she started to fake complaining about some $100 bills missing from her purse, and the two started to jump on me. Ugh! Unbelievable! I ran up to my room and tried to shake away the negative thoughts and think back to how happy I was at prom. Then, as usual, I checked my hiding spot. Huh? What was that noise? I looked towards the stairs, but no one was there. It was probably just the house creaking or something. The next day at school was amazing, as loads of kids stopped and talked to me. Then, when I got home, I went up to my room and double-checked my hiding spot. My heart plummeted in my chest. The purse! It had gone! I frantically searched for it. Then I remembered hearing something last night, and there were only 3 of us in this house. Could it be? Furious, I ran into the living room where Mrs. Madison and Kelly were watching TV. I shouted at them, My money! I want it back right now! In an unconcerned tone, Mrs. Madison replied, What money? What are you talking about? Oh, I see. So you have your own money all along, and have been keeping it for yourself? Poof! What an ungrateful brat! Mom lets you live here even though you aren't actually family, and now you're accusing us of stealing? I knew they'd taken my money, but what could I do about it? I had no choice but to go back to my room and cried as I looked at old photos of me with my grandparents. The next day at school, I really wasn't in the mood for lessons. During recess, I was just staring out of the window in despair when I heard a cough, so I looked and saw David there. Hey, Maya. He smiled at me. Are you okay? You seem kinda down. I'm fine. I gathered up my stuff and left. I know he was only being nice, but I wasn't feeling like small-talking right now. Then, after school, Kelly made me carry her heavy backpack home. I had no energy left to argue, so I glumly did as she asked. That's when David drove up alongside me and asked, Hey, that looks heavy. Do you need a lift? I nodded and got into his car while forcing a smile to thank him. He asked, Maya, what's up? You can talk to me, you know. I'm a good listener. Promise. He's so sweet, and I instantly felt safe around him. We chatted a lot and started hanging out more and more after that. We took walks through the park and had lunch together. I found myself growing closer to him, but not in the way you might think. No, more like a brother. Then, a few weeks later, when Mrs. Madison made me clean up the mess in the house that she'd made again, I found something under her bed. The old purse that Grandma had left me. and the money was all gone. I stormed downstairs and slammed the purse onto the kitchen table, but Mrs. Madison shrugged. "It was my mother's purse. Therefore, that money belongs to me. You obviously stole it from my poor elderly parents." Kelly backed up her mom with her annoying tone. "Wow, how low do you have to be to con a sick old lady into giving you her life savings?" "Grandma left it for me, not you! You two are monsters!" I screamed at them, took the purse, and went up to my room. I started to pack, then I was leaving here once and for all. Only, when I went to try the door, I couldn't open it. OMG, they'd locked me in! Worse still, in all the drama, I'd left my phone downstairs, so I couldn't even call David for help. The next day, Mrs. Madison let me out, but only on the condition that I did all the housework, and from now on, I wasn't allowed to go to school or anything like that. And if I broke this rule, she'd make sure I ended up in trouble for stealing the money. So, it is what it is. I had no choice. They've caught me on a string. One afternoon, I was out front watering the flowers when Mrs. Madison shouted out from the living room, "No! Not the roses! Water the ones over there! You useless girl!" Then suddenly, I felt someone yank my arm. It's David. He was worried about my absence, so he came to check on me. "Maya, there's someone I want you to meet." Then he signaled me to follow him. I had no idea where David was taking me, but anything would be a way better option than listening to any more of Mrs. Harrison's nagging, so I got in his car. He took me to his house, and there was this man in there. I suppose it's David's dad, but then, with tear-filled eyes, the man blurted out, "Maya, it's you, my daughter. You're finally home." Huh? What? So, after I sat down and had a sip of water to brace myself for whatever was about to come, the two told me about how when I was a baby, my mom got sick and passed away. My dad struggled to look after me and my brother, so he gave me to a priest. Eventually, my dad managed to turn his life around, and knowing that I'd been adopted by the elderly couple, he started sending money to them to help them raise me. Then, when he came to find me, I wasn't there anymore. He found out that I was living with the daughter of an elderly couple in Columbus, so he moved to this city with the hope of finding me. It was such a coincidence that David ended up attending the same school as me. David said that the first time he saw me, he felt this strange bond right away, and how amazing that this gut feeling was right, as it soon became clear I was his long-lost sister. Wow, this was a lot to take in, but it was the greatest news ever. I left Mrs. Madison's house after that, of course, and moved in with my dad and brother. And for the first time since I'd lost my grandparents, I found myself feeling truly happy again. Now, you're probably wondering what became of Mrs. Madison and Kelly. Well, I was walking past their house the other day and saw a for sale sign in the yard. Turns out, Mrs. Madison had been spending money like water and now was in debt, so she was having to sell the house. I don't want to gloat or anything, but I guess that's karma for them. Why do we have to study logarithms? Will they help us with stockbroking? Surely not. Why suddenly create the x and then force us to find it? And why do I have to prove that it's an isosceles triangle? I see clearly that it is. Duh! Then I received the note back saying, "What are you two talking about?" I just figured that another kid had intercepted it. So with my eyes still glued to my level 3692 of Candy Crush, I scrawled back, "Keep your nose out of my business," and then handed the paper over without looking. Ahem. But your business is taking place in my class. I slowly looked up and saw that it was my teacher. Oh, dang. Busted again. Looking over, I saw Brett with his big guilty face. Ugh, he should have been more careful. Okay, you. And you. Out. You're probably wondering how I'm such a pro at this pose. Well, it's because I've done it 1,000 times. And that serious woman over there is Mrs. Megan, my math teacher. I swear, she totally has it in for me. Okay, let me tell you the story. Once upon a time, there was a girl who, due to an unexpected accident with a trash can and an ill-placed skateboard, ended up arriving a teensy bit late for her exam. But the teacher refused to let her in, and also failed her. Grrr. Yeah, that girl was me, Lexi. Thus, from that moment forth, she became my arch enemy. So, during her boring lecture, I threw a paper plane at the board and said, "Miss, you've spelled arithmetic wrong. I suppose spelling is a bit hard for a numbers person like you. It's okay." Clearly my comment got to her, as during that same class, she picked on me to graph a function. Easy peasy. So I created a masterpiece that made her eyes roll, and the whole class found it hilarious. And as expected, she gave me a lengthy lecture on my childish behavior, and even threatened to call my parents. Poof! Yeah, good luck with that, as unless it involved business, then my parents were practically impossible to reach. Besides, I was just having a laugh. Mrs. Megan needed to lighten up. So I secretly stuck a piece of paper saying "free hugs" on her back. I lurked behind a tree and watched as all these people surrounded her. She looked so bewildered as she tried to navigate past them while having no idea what was going on. The good old days. Suddenly, Brett patted my shoulder and told me 30 minutes had passed and we needed to go back to class. My butt hadn't even touched my chair when I heard a patronizing voice say, "You shouldn't act like that." Ugh, that's Faye, the teacher's pet and a real pick-me girl. Every time the teacher asks a question, she wriggles her arm in the air and squeaks out, "Me, me, me!" Mrs. Megan only likes her because she always laughs at her boring jokes. Oh well, I may have no proof, but in my experience, Faye's definitely not as innocent as she looks. Don't say I'm jealous, 'cause I'm 100% not. You probably think I hate school, but it's still way better than my so-called home. Ugh. At least school could be amusing, while my home life consisted of mom and dad locked away in their office 24/7. I can't remember the last time either of them cooked dinner. So takeaway it is. So I'm texting Ben, my super sexy BF. He's been studying in France, and he's back today. I've missed him so much, but unfortunately, I couldn't pick him up from the airport because of, school. And tonight, he has a family party, but we're meeting up tomorrow. Yay! Let me see your face, sweetie. I miss you. You know what? Today, that teacher gave me detention again. Really? She messed with the wrong one, didn't she? Definitely. I will retaliate tomorrow. She'd better watch out. Okay, but don't end up in after-school detention, as I want to see you. My mom's also a teacher, but she's not that much. Oh, by the way, she's here. You want to say hello? Yeah, sure. Ben, it gets on my nerves whenever I think of that Before I had a chance to finish my words, a person popped up on the screen. Mrs. Megan! Lexi? OMG! We both gave each other stunned, open-mouthed stares. It looked like the screen had frozen. Literally! Then just when I didn't think it could get any worse, suddenly a familiar voice broke the silence. Oh, Ben has a girlfriend? Let me see her. Huh? That's Faye! Oh my days, this is too much to process. My two enemies were in the same frame. Shocked, I ended the call. Right after, I received a text from Ben saying, "Don't worry, my mother may look super serious, but she's kind." And the girl is Faye, my neighbor. We've known each other since childhood, and she's cool." This was so crazy. Now I'd have to face them both every day, knowing that they're associated with my BF. Oh, the future is as dark as night. And yeah, this is the beginning of the series thusly entitled Living with My Future Mother-in-Law and My BF's Annoying Female Best Friend. And since then, things at school turned weird. For our class Halloween event, which had a Toy Story theme, Mrs. Megan was in charge of handing out the parts. Faye was Bo Peep, and she had this really cute outfit. While me, I was stuck as Mrs. Potato Head. My outfit was so lame, and one of my googly eyes kept on falling off. Ugh! It was so embarrassing, but I couldn't say anything. I couldn't mess with her anymore, as I still wanted to be with her son. Ugh. Worse still, math class became an endurance test. I was so sick of being compared to that goody two-shoes Faye. "Lexi, if you spent more time studying and less time painting your nails, you'd be a top student like Faye." Poof! Faye caught on to what was going on and also started playing tricks on me. One time in class, when I was dozing and Mrs. Megan was correcting the homework, I overheard, "This symbol shows that A is not equal to B." Faye then turned around and whispered, "Just like you, you're not equal to me. And you don't deserve my Ben either." What? Ben is mine, not hers. I bared my teeth and was about to say something when that brat started pretending to cry, saying that I was picking on her. "Out!" Mrs. Megan came to us with burning eyes. We were walking out when in a sympathetic tone she added, "Faye, you stay." I returned to my meditating pose, but, I couldn't shake off my anger. How unfair! Later, when it was lunchtime, Faye walked over to me with a cup of Coke, saying it was a peace offering, and that she was sorry for earlier. This was confusing, but whatever. I took it and was about to take a sip when Brett rushed over waving his arms about. "Lexi, stop!" I saw Faye put soy sauce in it. I was just a second away from yelling at her when Mrs. Megan appeared. I smiled smugly, thinking Faye would finally get into trouble. But to my surprise, Mrs. Megan took a sip of the drink and tried to keep a neutral face as she replied, "There's nothing wrong with it." Really? They went that far to cover up for each other? Whatever. I had a date with Ben tonight to prepare for anyway. That night as planned, I arrived at Ben's house with a somewhat wilting pot plant for Mrs. Megan. I was kinda excited to finally have a cooked meal. Only, when I walked into the kitchen, I couldn't smell anything cooking. Mrs. Megan appeared and rubbing her hand said, "Lexi, you don't mind cooking, do you? It's just been a long week of drawing diagrams. My hand kinda aches." Seeing the situation, Ben immediately came to help, but she reminded him that he'd agreed to fix a pipe or something. To be honest, I'd never touched a frying pan before. But I mean, how hard could it be? I'd make pancakes, though it's not really suitable for dinner, but I'd seen them on a 5-minute crafts and they were clearly a breeze to make. Only, it didn't go to plan. In situations like this, it's important not to panic. But, yeah, I panicked. I needed a plan B. Quick! In a rush, I threw away all the evidence of the failed pancakes and ordered food online. After all, thanks to my workaholic parents, this was my forte. I instructed the delivery person to come to the back door, so Ben and Mrs. Megan would be none the wiser. Expectedly, at the very first bite, Ben and my mother-in-law praised me profusely for my food, and Ben even joked that I should join the next season of Master Chef. Yo, I will rate this restaurant 5 stars for sure. Mrs. Megan suddenly dropped her spoon, so I quickly bent down to pick it up, only she leaned down and whispered sarcastically, "I order from Sydney's too. Their sauces are divine." Oh, busted! Then, halfway through the night, this man showed up and apologized for being late. Turns out he was Jim, Faye's father, but Faye wasn't coming over as she was out with friends. Happy days! I watched Mrs. Megan and him touch a tissue box at the same time by mistake, and then blushed? Huh? Oh, I get it. She liked him. Now it made sense why she was always sucking up to Faye. Have you thought about remarrying? I asked Jim innocently. To the waiting eyes of me, as well as Mrs. Megan, he hesitantly answered, I don't think Faye would like that. Mrs. Megan glumly stared down at the floor. Okay, so I actually felt kinda sorry for her. Besides, matchmaking has always been my hobby, so I decided to help her. I knew that Faye was at a party on Saturday night, so I decided this was the perfect opportunity to play Cupid. I told Mrs. Megan that Jim had something to tell her, so meet him at the Golden Reef restaurant at 7 p.m. Then I told Jim the same. I stood behind a column and watched them share their starter, and then give each other gooey-eyed glances. Then Jim reached out and took Mrs. Megan's hand. They were looking at each other passionately when Faye suddenly rushed in from nowhere and angrily slammed her bag on the table. So this is it? My teacher and my dad? For real?
Faye, why are you here?
Jim stuttered. No one can ever replace Mom! Then she turned to a dumbfounded-looking Mrs. Megan. Turns out you were only being nice to me to get my dad. You're fake. Stay away from us. Mrs. Megan covered her face with her hands, then quickly left. Geez, Faye was brutal. And however annoying Mrs. Megan was, she didn't deserve that. You! Faye shouted. Uh-oh. Her gaze fixed on me. It figures you'd be behind this. Keep your big nose out of our family business and start caring about yours instead. Guess this is what lack of parental care does to a kid. I stared at her speechless. Those words should have driven me mad, but for some reason, I only felt sad. And so guilty. I really just meant well. So, first thing at school the next day, I swallowed my pride and went to Mrs. Megan's classroom, where she looked lost in thought as she marked homework. I coughed to clear my throat, then said, Miss, I'm sorry. I honestly was trying to help, but now I realize I should have minded my own business. I'm also sorry for being a jerk in your class. She was silent at first, then replied, It's okay, as I've come to realize that you and I aren't so different. We both have complications in the way of finding love. Guess it's really not easy to get approval from your parents' family, huh? She smiled and gently stroked my hair before continuing. You're such a smart and kind girl, and I always knew you could do better in class, that I must have been too harsh on you. I'm sorry, too. I smiled back at her, and at that moment, I felt like all of our previous conflicts melted away. And I realized that I shouldn't neglect my studies. Instead, I should work hard to become the best version of myself. So, with a lot of hard work, I went from trailing at the bottom of the class to reaching the top spot, even overtaking Faye. Ha! Speaking of Faye, she was still ignoring both me and Mrs. Megan, and never put her hand up in class anymore. But then a rainbow flame experience in the chem lab changed things. Everyone ran out of there when the curtain caught on fire, except for a terrified Faye. Luckily, Mrs. Megan rushed inside to rescue her just in time, and covered her with a jacket as she led her to safety. After that, Faye realized that Mrs. Megan is a good person who cares about both her and Jim. So, through blurry eyes, Faye sobbed out, Thank you so much, and sorry, I was too childish. Please forgive me. A few months later. So, yeah, you see, my wing woman plan worked. And now I have a second family. A really big one. But you know what's the best thing? That is, I no longer have to order food online anymore. 'Cause I will stick to here, and my mother-in-law will cook for me. All roads were blocked by snow. No one in their right mind would go outside in this weather. But that banging on the door still persisted. and was only getting louder and louder. Could it be Yeti? I hugged my blanket and willed it to stop, but of course it didn't. I couldn't sleep in this frantic noise either, so Yeti or no Yeti, I needed to go check it out. So I crept over to the door. A rush of panic swam through me, as with a shaking hand I slightly opened it. Huh? Trevor? Yep, it wasn't any snowy monster. It was Trevor, about to faint from the cold, but his hands were still holding tightly onto something. Trembling, he said, "Here you go. Put on some more clothes. You'll catch a cold." Then he passed me my suitcase. Oh God, you're crazy, Trevor. You are the one who's catching all the cold right now. I immediately sat him down on the couch and placed the blanket around him, then quickly opened my suitcase. Here they are, my secret weapon, heat packs. I gave him some and got him another coat that wasn't covered in snow. Here, drink this first. I'll go make you a cup of cocoa. I began pouring him a cup of warm water out of my thermal bottle, but he stopped me. Power, out. He shivered out. Well, that explained why it felt like a freezer in here. And no more hot cocoa then. Hey, so I'm Autumn, and this is part 2 of my story. If you haven't seen part 1, you should go and check it out. Don't be fooled by my name. It was definitely winter here in Texas. And this storm was insane. Shame I was stuck in a holiday cottage with my treacherous best friend Lillian, her lying twin Seth, and his secret girlfriend Charlie. Ugh. Turns out, Lillian just wanted my Chicago clothes, and everyone, besides Trevor, was in on it. Back to Trevor. And I didn't want his death on my watch, so I rubbed his arms in a bid to defreeze him. When he looked like he'd thawed out a little, I raised an eyebrow and asked him, "Why did you go outside in this?" Well, the power went out. I knew it'd be Antarctica for you in here without a heater, so I wanted to go get you the suitcase. But I ended up locked out, so I had no choice but to wake you up to get in. I'm sorry." "What are you sorry about? It was just a little dumb of you." After that, we chatted about stuff. To be honest, I was super touched by what he did. While everyone was still deep asleep, here he was, thinking about me and risking his life to help me. Okay, so maybe I was a little harsh to him earlier when he confessed that he liked me. But hey, that could still just be him trolling me. I mean, I have a valid reason not to trust anyone under this roof anymore. I guess I must have fallen asleep as, the next morning, I woke up to Lillian frantically shaking me. "Hey! Wake up! We're in big trouble!" Oh, so they'd finally noticed the power was out. I passed everyone jackets and heat packs from my suitcase. Look, guys, layering up in these conditions is vital. Then I looked at Seth and Trevor. Even if that does mean wearing my pink pom-pom hat and squeezing into my rainbow-padded coat. We couldn't help but burst out laughing. At least there's something fun to brighten up this situation. Then we started prepping to face this apocalypse. And I was the captain. Because, hey, I'm the one who had the most experience with snow around here. Time was of the essence, so I quickly went to check the faucet. Luckily, the water was still running, though the flow was a little weak. Quick, get anything that can contain water. We should store as much as we can before the pipes freeze up. Ugh, look at Seth and Charlie, being all playful and flirty, forming a bucket brigade, with Lillian too. What a thorn in the eyes. So I threw them some towels I'd found and ordered them to go windproof all the doors and windows instead, as Trevor could handle this water storage thing alone. Meanwhile, I checked on our food situation. Fortunately, we've brought enough for 2 days, but it's all frozen now, and we had to ration the food in moderation, as who knows how long this lockdown could be. Hey, should we try using that fireplace? It's freezing, even with these jackets on. Yeah, Seth, why don't you figure it out? Then we started cleaning up all the stuff in front of the fireplace, so Seth could give it a try. But oh boy, what did I expect? The most he managed to make was black smoke.
Forget it. This is probably just a decorative fireplace. Y'all so dumb.
Then Trevor appeared out of the basement with an armful of wood.
No, for sure it's usable. Look, I even found wood and coal stored here. Let me try.
He knelt down in front of the fireplace and started clearing the blockage to the chimney. After some time, it worked. Whoa, we had fire! We all whooped and jumped about like lunatics. Then Lillian wrapped her arms around Trevor's neck and kissed him on the cheek. Blushing, he immediately wiped it off with his hand, which then left some coal stains on his face. It was so funny. Trevor was our true hero again. While Seth... Well, thank God I didn't have a crush on that loser anymore. Poor Charlie. Have fun being stuck with that useless dude. Thanks to Trevor, we now had a fire to keep warm and to cook our food on. So we'd be fine, right?
Oh no! My phone's dead! Just when I think I caught a tiny bit of signal.
Gimme! Don't you know we can charge your phone with fruits?
Seth grabbed Lillian's phone and charger and took them into the kitchen. Now that's strange. He has never looked so enthusiastic doing anything helpful during the past 2 days. He was probably trying to save his face after losing to Trevor so many times. Ha! I watched on with amusement as Seth stabbed the charger into a banana. What did I ever see in this guy again? Trevor burst out laughing, and Charlie sighed, then went off to prepare soup for dinner. Lillian folded her arms and pouted.
So? Hurry up!
Seth grunted, then fiercely stabbed the charger into the poor banana several more times. Jeez, it was so dumb, and too funny to stop him.
Spirit, it won't work!
Ugh, you ruined my charger and wasted our food! I wish I could just throw you out into the storm! Seth shoved the mashed banana into his mouth.
Who told you it's wasted? This is my dinner!
Then he sulked off into the corner and covered himself with a blanket. Hilarious!
Hey, don't worry. I have a power bank in my room. I'll go get it.
Oh, sweet! You're indeed my knight in shining armor. Always come and save me in time. She winked, then hugged his arms. He quickly looked at me, then shook her off of him. What was that for? Was he serious when he said he liked me? He rejected Lillian more than twice. And to be honest, I did have this tingling feeling whenever there were only 2 of us in the room. I don't know anymore. Later that night, we decided to all gather in front of the fireplace to sleep, as it's the only warm place in the house. So me and the other girls went to the bedrooms to get the mattresses and blankets. Well, anything useful, really.
OMG, my brother's such a loser.
Lillian laughed as she picked up her pillow. Charlie smirked. Tell me about it. He actually stabbed a banana to death. The poor banana, I chuckled. Joking around with them actually felt kinda good. We were stuck in this house together till God knows when, so maybe I should stop being bitter towards them. Besides, I was totally over that useless loser Seth now anyway. Even Charlie wasn't on his side. We set up a cozy base in the living room and spent the next few days riding out the storm. On a few occasions, Lillian tried snuggling up to Trevor with some excuse about raising body heat, but he just shuffled away from her. So in the end, she made us all do cardio workouts, which did the trick, and it was really funny to watch each other struggle to do star jumps with 500 layers of clothes on. Charlie also taught us to play some card games to pass the time, such as solitaire and Go Fish, which I'm now a pro at. Seth and Trevor even picked up a new hobby of wood carving. But so far, I still couldn't tell what their artworks were supposed to be yet. And finally, after 4 days of isolation, the storm seemed to weaken. We started to get stable phone signal back, and we called our parents right away to update them on the situation. They said they would come pick us up as soon as possible.
We were all so happy and also proud of ourselves. We'd survived this crazy storm. So, you're probably thinking this is the happy ending? Not so fast. When we were all FaceTiming Lillian and Seth's parents, their mom suddenly said to Charlie, "Thank you so much for helping us keep an eye on the kids. We'll definitely add a nice bonus onto your salary this month." We were all stunned. I don't even know if it's for the same reason, but why was Seth's mom paying his girlfriend? Lillian clumsily said goodbye to her mom and ended the call immediately, then tried to clear up the atmosphere with her fake laugh. Y'all know how my mom loves to give her dear nieces and nephews some extra pocket money whenever she sees them. Okay, what are we having for lunch today, guys? Just stop it. I know your secret already. Charlie and Seth are a couple, aren't they? But why is your mom paying her? That's sick. Lillian, Seth, and Charlie all shouted out in unison, "What?" Lillian gave me a questioning look. Autumn, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm sorry for lying to you, but no, Charlie is not Seth's girlfriend. She's our tutor. Liar? If so, then why did you have to hide it? My parents didn't trust us staying in this place by ourselves, so they asked Charlie to supervise. And come on, we're 16. We don't need a babysitter. That's embarrassing. Yeah, I thought it's just a harmless lie, so I agreed to go along with them. I mean, we still had fun together, right? But who told you we were a couple? I was about to reply, but then Trevor dragged me to another room while saying to the others, "She needs to calm down first. Let me take care of this." Now we were alone. I gave him an "I'm waiting" look. "Okay, hear me out first, okay?" I nodded, then he sighed and continued. "Lillian does like you, and she did actually want to help you get with Seth, but he wasn't interested. So she promised him a month's worth of pocket money to stay here. I didn't really buy it, but let's see what else he's got." Okay then, but that doesn't change the fact that Seth and Charlie had something going on. Duh. That kiss? Actually, that wasn't real. I just dared Seth to do it. Charlie really is just their tutor. What was he talking about? I felt like the room started spinning. Look, I really do like you, Autumn, and I know I should never have lied about stuff, but it was only so you'd give me a chance. Only, Lillian now thinks I like her, and I never meant to give her the wrong impression. How dare he trick me like that? So I screamed at him. "I will never, ever like you! Your actions have just made me hate you even more!" Thanks to him, I misjudged Lillian, Charlie, and Seth. Although, to be honest, Seth might not have been a liar, but he was still so not my type. Trevor gave me this disheartened look as he stared down at the ground. Then he muttered out a, "Sorry." I didn't want to hear any more of his pathetic apologies, so I huffed my way out of there and sat on the freezing porch until my parents finally arrived. After that, things went back to normal. School resumed. Lillian and I are the best of friends, and she now calls me her snowstorm bestie. Aww. As for Trevor, I now avoid him as much as possible. I know he stares over at me at school. I can feel his gaze on me. But as soon as I look in his direction, he quickly turns away. I guess I do like him, okay? I don't agree with what he did, but I've got to admit, it sure takes a witty, imaginative guy to come up with a plan like that on the spot. Okay, fine. I'll give him another chance and see where things go. And if there's ever another snowstorm, well, then I suppose he's a handy guy to have around.
It was a Saturday at my environmental club. I saw my friends chatting, so I hurried over to join them. What about Walmart? Walmart? You guys hang out there? Can I come too? I love looking at wall stuff. Huh? Why was everyone gawping at me like an alien? Oh, Walmart. Duh, I was just fooling around. Anyway, you guys go have fun. There. You're probably thinking, has this girl been living under a rock? How can she not know what Walmart is? Well, now I do. Hi, I'm Jasmine, the only child of the biggest hotelier in New York. Growing up rich, I was used to lavish parties and being around wealthy families. That's how I met my girls, Katie and Ashley, daughters of my parents' business partners. I may have lived a privileged lifestyle, but I was actually happiest when I got to work in my art studio. I had an anonymous Tumblr account where I shared some of my finest oil paintings. There, I'd been talking to this one fan for a while, Daniel. He's such a hottie, and he loves art too. But best of all, I just found out we were going to the same high school. Yay! So when the school year started, I asked to meet Daniel in person. Oh, that must be him! I was about to greet him when suddenly a girl appeared. Wow, there sure are a lot of rich girls around here. I swear I saw a few of them ogling you.
Ugh, please. You know how I despise those spoiled princesses the most? I just can't stand being close to them.
Oh no! Daniel hates rich girls? I can't let him see me today. Not like this. So I texted him saying something had come up. Over the next few days, I found out that Daniel was Mr. Cool with all the straight A's, currently the president of the Environmental Club. And he's single. So that's Haley, just a close friend of his. I was determined to conquer Daniel's heart. I just needed to figure out a way to get around his whole anti-wealth thing. Aha! I'd pretend to be some normal girl and join Daniel's environmental club. In the meantime, I'd make him fall for me before telling him the truth about my Tumblr account. Of course, I couldn't let Katie and Ashley know about this either. And here I am, at the environmental club. I immediately approached Daniel with candies, but you know how terrible rappers are for the planet. Besides, Dan doesn't like sweets. At lunchtime, out of habit, I ordered fast food. But as I went to fetch it, I saw everyone gossiping amongst themselves about the terrible person who dared to order food in single-use plastic. Oh, silly me. I totally forgot I was in an environmental club. I quickly lied that I'd already eaten despite my stomach giving out some monster growls. And today's incident was yet another embarrassing moment I created for myself at the club. Oh, Walmart. Duh, I was just fooling around. Anyway, you guys go have fun. There. Learning to be a normal girly is hard, but dealing with my rich friends was even harder. I'd been so busy at the club I totally forgot I still had the recycling bag on me. Not mine. Another time, I nearly got caught while trying to raise funds with other clubmates. I ended up hiding in the restroom for an hour straight. But all the suffering was worth it, as I got to hang around with Daniel. Daniel, I got this for you.
Oh, this is for me? You're a great painter, aren't you? Thanks. By the way, meet Andy. He's in the Eco Bus Stop Poster Design Group, and you're gonna work with him from now on. Not like a rich kid like him needs the bus.
Andy, what are you doing here?
I could say the same about you. My dad just married Daniel's mom, so I'm here to support my new stepbrother.
Ooh, so Andy, whom I met through fancy parties with our parents in the past, was in Daniel's inner circle. This was wonderful news, so I confided in him all about my plan to get with Daniel. So, any chance you could help a girl out?
Sure. I've always wanted Daniel to have a girlfriend anyway. He seriously needs to chill out a bit.
From then on, Andy started teaching me about the ordinary life. One time, he insisted on taking me to the amusement park for the first time. Why do people take the bus anyway? Why don't they just drive a car?
Not everyone can afford a car, Jazz.
So, when will the bus come to pick me up?
The bus doesn't come to you. You have to go to the bus stop.
Huh? A bus stop? What is it?
It's a corner with a bench. You'll see.
The bus was stuffy, and there was a funny smell coming from somewhere behind me. Where's my champagne and hot towels?
Jazz, this is a bus, not a plane. You don't get those things here.
Later, the bus suddenly jolted, and I flew forward, but Andy caught me in his arms. I peered up at him, and my heart almost skipped a beat. He looked so fine from this angle. Finally, we made it to the amusement park, and it turns out it was so much fun. I went on these twirling teacups until I felt dizzy, and threw some balls at a tower of cans. On the way home, Andy insisted on joining this massive line to try some tacos. I'd never waited this long for food before. But oh boy, they were tastier than a Michelin star food! Best of all, Andy also helped me get close to Daniel. Only I got so nervous. The trees are leafy, aren't they? I mean, all trees are leafy, apart from trees in the winter, as they're not very leafy.
You're just the right combination of cute and awkward.
Holy moly, he thought I was cute. I was ready for my sweet first kiss when Haley butted in and started boring Daniel with talk of some project. Later that day, Haley pulled me into the corner. Who are you, and why join this club? I'm just an environmental enthusiast and a nature lover. This girl is everywhere, third-wheeling with me and Daniel. But it's okay, as Andy had invited me to his house to work on a poster for the club. And I mean, I could conveniently bump into Daniel there too. Oh, some of the paintings here were amazing. I didn't realize Andy was an art fan. We discussed some of our favorite artists, and then I showed him my finest paintings on my Tumblr account.
Wow, I can tell you truly have a knack for transitional blending. Actually, I dreamed of becoming an artist, but then Mom left me and Dad to travel the world and fill her own painting dreams. I didn't want to make Dad any sadder than he already was, so I stopped painting.
I told him to pursue his passion no matter what, and invited him to join me in my art studio whenever he wanted. Suddenly, it was so hot in here, I needed a glass of water before I melted. I walked into the kitchen to find Daniel daydreaming out of the window. Hey, is everything all right?
Eco Bus Stop has hit a dead end due to the lack of funding.
I knew I could just give him some of my allowance, but that would mean revealing that I was a rich girl. So I decided to cheer him up by pulling funny faces and said it would all be okay. But then...
You don't understand. I have to make this project successful no matter what. Only then I can get a scholarship into my dream university.
His attitude stunned me. This Daniel was completely different from the fan I talked to. But maybe he was only acting up because Eco Bus Stop means a lot to him. So, the next day, I decided to give Daniel his most wanted gift, an envelope with my monthly allowance. Just as I was about to reach Daniel, Haley stopped me.
I know your secret already, rich girl.
What? No! You must be dreaming stuff up.
Oh, really?
So you don't know these people?
Aren't they the troublemakers from the rich kid clique?
Yeah, they are. Why would I be friends with those spoiled brats? Spoiled brats?
Jazz, how could you say that?
Your whole Save the Trees act didn't work on me. You were acting fake from the start, so I followed you and saw you with your rich friends at the luxury outlet. That's correct. Jasmine Father owns more hotels than your dumb club members' houses combined. I don't know what she's doing here. Next thing I knew, Daniel walked off without saying a word, so I ran after him.
I knew it so well that rich people like you ain't no good. You could have funded the project, or at least helped me ask your father for a loan, but you did nothing. You disgust me.
I only did it because I like you! Right then, Katie and Ashley caught me up. I'm sorry for what I said earlier, girls. It was my fault. I shouldn't have said such nasty things about you guys. I didn't think a noble lady like you would ever lower yourself for a pity boy like him. If you want back in the clique, then cut ties with your low-rent friends. Maybe my club friends were right. We've been so shallow and materialistic. We should change, not them. You! How dare you, Jasmine! Jasmine! So, Daniel didn't want to see my face while Katie kicked me out of the group. For 1 week straight, I shut myself in my room. It was awful, but it did give me time to think more clearly and come to realize I should stop chasing Daniel. Instead, I want to be more active at the environmental club as I truly love contributing to the greater good. So, the next morning, I went to the beach cleanup with the club. Everyone looked so shocked to see me, especially Andy.
You're back! I'm so glad you came. How have you been?
Then we chatted happily while cleaning up the trash with everyone. Only Daniel and Haley were visibly annoyed, but I just couldn't care less. From then on, I was busy helping prepare for the Shark Tank show to raise capital for Eco Bus Stop. One day, Daniel approached me and apologized for overreacting that day. He went on to explain that his mom's been labeled a gold digger ever since she married Andy's dad. He wanted to show that, unlike Andy, who had been born into privilege, he didn't need money, and that he could get a scholarship into his dream college through Eco Bus Stop. Hearing this, I softened and forgave him. After that, we became friends again, and I think he was flirting with me.
Hey, Jazz, you look nice today. You've got such beautiful eyes.
But for some reason, every time I was with him, all I thought about was Andy. Time passed by, then came the Shark Tank qualifying round. The whole club nervously watched Daniel present the project. And guess what? Our project was selected for the final round. Right after that, Daniel followed me outside.
Jasmine, will you be my girlfriend?
I was so confused that I mindlessly nodded, but somehow I didn't feel happy at all. On my first date with Daniel, I found my mind wandering back to Andy. Worse still, I felt like he was avoiding me. A few days later, I threw my 16th birthday. All my friends from the environmental club were there, except for Andy. Later, Daniel went on stage.
Hey everyone, I prepared this special song for my girlfriend Jasmine. You say you're sorry, but it's too late now. So save it, get gone, shut up. 'Cause if you think I care about you now, girl, I don't give a fudge.
Next thing I knew, everyone was gasping and giving me pitiful looks.
So this is for you, Jasmine, you useless, rich, spoiled little brat. Happy birthday, you're dumped.
I froze, but tried to pull myself together. Yes, I'm rich, but never useless and spoiled. People are more than just their social class, you know. Suddenly, I saw a fist flying through the air. It was Andy punching Daniel.
You jerk, you'll pay for this.
Then he leads me away. Andy sat me down on a bench, and I just couldn't stop my tears.
Stop crying already. He doesn't deserve you, he never did.
But I couldn't deal with this right now, so I turned and ran off without uttering a word. After crying myself to sleep that night, I knew the next day I had to be tough, so I returned to the club to get my stuff.
Hey, I'm sorry about what happened last night. I never thought he could do such terrible things to you. And I'm sorry for being harsh on you this whole time. I know now that was wrong of me.
It's okay. I guess it was just my fault from the start. I ignored the fact that we were incompatible just because he was my fan.
Daniel is your fan?
Yeah, from my Min Arts account on Tumblr.
Oh god, that's you? I'm the fan, not Daniel.
Oh, that makes sense. I guess I misunderstood everything all along. But why is there a photo and info of Daniel? Haley admitted to having a crush on Daniel.
But now that I see his true colors, he's just not worth it anymore, you know? I'm gonna leave this club too. It's Daniel who needs to leave. Just wait and see.
Despite still being in a mood, I showed up to Shark Tank's final round to see the project I contributed to. And yes, our Eco Bus Stop project finally got the funding approval. When suddenly,
I'll invest in the project, but I don't want Daniel as my partner. I want it to be Haley, as she's the real mastermind behind this.
all the club members shouted in union to support Haley and boo at Daniel.
What about our deal? You said your father would invest in my project if I dumped Jasmine publicly.
I don't know either. Maybe it's because you really suck. Moments later, Katie's father got between them.
Fortunately, Andy filled me in on Haley's contribution to the project. Otherwise, I would have made a terrible mistake by funding an opportunist instead. As for you, Katie, how could you do that to a friend? You will receive your punishment at home.
After the show ended, I went for a walk with Andy. So, this was your plan all along, huh?
Daniel went too far this time. I need to teach him a lesson, and... Jazz, I've liked you since we first started hanging out, but I stupidly agreed to help you get with Daniel.
This is so sudden. I don't know, Andy.
I promise to take care of you from now on. Please give me a chance.
Andy, actually, I like you too, but my stupid self kept telling me to pursue Daniel, and all this time I've been thinking about you a lot, but I just need some time.
That's all I need to know.